So it is my privilege today to introduce to the Northeastern Seminary community Marlene CollinsBlair. And Marlene is the Assistant Vice President for Academic Affairs and the Assistant Chief Academic Officer for Roberts Wesleyan University. And she's actually fairly new to our community, and Dean Gerhardt met and heard Marlene speak about I think about her role and a little bit about the importance of her faith, and said, we need to get her, we need to have her interviewed as part of the spiritual resources for the seminary community. So it is my privilege to have myself just met Marlene. And I've asked her if she would just to take a couple minutes to share with us a few things about where she finds herself in her life walk and her life with God, in the hopes that this will be an encouragement to you. So Marlene, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your time. I know you're very busy with those various roles. But again, welcome to the community. We're so glad that we're part of the community you're a part of. And I'd love for you, if you don't mind, just to share a little bit about who you are so our students can get a little bit of a sense. I mean, just briefly, who you are.
Oh, thank you so very much, Rebecca, and thanks for the privilege of being a part of this project to just share with who I am and what the Lord is doing, in the hopes that it will strengthen somebody's walk with the Lord. And so I am originally from the island of Jamaica, and I've been living in the US for about 16 to 17 years now. And I have 3 children and I'm married. I have 3 daughters, and they're all serving the Lord. And my family too, we are very, very, very vested in teaching our children about the ways of the Lord and having them understand the importance of His leading in their lives. And so that's very, very key to us. And I would say that 2 things define who I am. And the first would be that my life verse is this: in all thy ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct thy paths. And so every stage of my life, I have learned to say, Lord, help me to walk where you're leading me, even when you call me things I may not understand. So that's a very key aspect of who I am. Because I'm usually in a job or in a ministry or doing things that I may not even have thought about before 10 years ago or 5 years ago, but that is very key, that I'm following where the Lord is leading at any particular point in time. And what I would say when it comes to this role that I'm now in, I would say that it started very, very young. I've always been interested in education. I often tell people that when I was 4, I would teach the furniture in my house. I'd teach the trees outside. Anything I got to teach, I would just want to teach everything I've learned, whether my ABC. I would just go about doing that, just teaching everything. So I believe I'm an educator at heart. And right now, my investment is in Christian higher education. For me, it is such an invaluable experience. It's just such an invaluable part of anybody's experience. And so I'm investing all my energies, or that's where I feel led right now. So that's why I'm in this current role.
Beautiful. And as we were chatting just before I began the recording, you noted that particularly Christian higher education is really important to you.
Yes, it absolutely is, because I have taught before at a large secular university. It has, the University of the West Indies. It's a beautiful place. They service the entire Caribbean. They have hundreds and thousands of students. They're all over the Caribbean and also in Europe. But when I got to my first Christian college, when I taught there, the character transformation that I saw in students was just something that I saw to be, it's an invaluable, intangible thing. Like, you can't say, okay, here's the value that I can place on this, because it's just invaluable. It's just priceless. And so the kinds of graduates that I saw at a small Christian college versus at a huge secular institution was really what attracted me to Christian higher education. The transformative experience was really one that caused me to pause and even think about my life. And it allowed me to invest in lives in a way that I couldn't at a secular institution. I could get a student who was struggling and say, may I pray for you? May I help you along in this way? You know, things that you probably couldn't do at a larger place or a place that would not welcome that kind of interaction with students. And so for me, the value that I saw in what happens on a Christian campus or a Christian higher education, you know, where students are learning, that community of believers where the culture is different, I just would not change that for the world. And so I'm about right now investing all my time, my energy into Christian higher ed. I'm passionate about it. I want for it to flourish because I believe there's immeasurable value in what we offer to students.
Beautiful. And I really appreciate you sharing that, especially in this context, because, you know, seminary students, here they are doing graduate education. Many of them feel called to seminary, but don't necessarily know what the next step is. Like you, like myself, they're listening, Lord, what's, you know, I'm following you. And they make a big investment of time and their resources to participate in seminary education. And so I just thought it was important for them to hear, because I thought that was very encouraging that you have said, you've been in different places and that you've really seen really the value of a Christian higher education experience. So thanks for sharing that. I hope that's encouraging to our folks.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely. One of the things I am learning, because by nature, I would say a little bit impatient, like I want to know what's going to happen next. I want to have my life planned out the next 5 years. I'm a planner, so I like to see that. But I see where there's value to being still and to just walk in every season. The psalmist says, Lord, my times are in your hands. Yes. And so I don't need to rush. And so there's some parts of my journey that were hard because I didn't see clarity. I didn't understand why the Lord was taking me here. You know, so there might be students questioning, should I really be here? What is the next step? I can't see that clearly. I would say trust the timing of the Lord and trust him with the season that you're in. I have come to the point where I've had to say, Lord, help me to continue to trust you, even when I may not understand the season that I'm in. So just to walk in every season. Right now, the season is being at seminary and, you know, taking on all the other responsibilities that you have. The Lord sees it and he knows, he controls, he is in charge of your times. And he will definitely provide a way for you to be able to see clearly where you need to go. He'll make the next step clear when that time is right. You know, not always want to know, but when that time is right, you know, our times are in his hands.
Amen. That's such a good word. Thank you. That already is so encouraging. Thank you. I think that it's just important to say, because sometimes, especially just in the midst of life and studies, it can sometimes feel overwhelming. And as you said, we don't always have clarity. When we do, thanks be to God. That's a real blessing when we do, but that's not always how life is. So I really appreciate such a good word to trust the Lord for wherever we are and continually look to him. So thank you. I appreciate that so much. I wanted to ask you too, if you don't mind sharing, if you have particular life rhythms. You mentioned that key verse for you from Proverbs 3 about, you know, trusting the Lord and orienting and all of who we are to him. Are there any other particular practices, life rhythms, or anything that you have found especially helpful in helping you keep that orientation toward God?
Yes. One of the things I do is periodically just being still. I am by nature very active, always doing something. And so just finding time to be still and to say, Lord, am I walking in your purposes? Because many times we're busy. And, you know, we're not sure. Am I walking in your purposes? Am I doing that which you've called me to do in this season? Do I have distractions right now, or am I fulfilling what you've called me to do? For example, I'll ask the Lord, you know, I'll be like, Lord, I'm here at Roberts. This is a new role. I have a list of responsibilities, but I also know that you've called me to do something else. It could be this, it could be other things. Am I being true to that? Am I being sensitive to what the Spirit is saying about what I really need to be doing? Am I in alignment with your purposes for where I need to be, for what I need to be doing? Because I do get busy sometimes, and we can get on that treadmill of just having 1,000 things to do, but we're never hearing the Lord say yes, or perhaps you need to step back, retool, go another direction. So I have begun to do that in a very deliberate fashion, to say, Lord, speak to my heart and let me know that I'm walking in alignment with your purposes for where I am, and that I'm doing that which you've called me to do. Because for me, that's my whole life story. That's my whole reason for being, to make sure that I'm doing on this earth what the Lord designed for me to do, not what I want to do, not what I think is best, but to make sure that for which he created me to do and to be in this earth, that I'm doing that and that I'm being that. And I need that time to make sure that that is the case.
Amen. I love that. And I really appreciate you naming that, especially in the context of what we just said. And that is, it's not that it's always clear, but by making that space, that stillness, it sounds to me like what you're doing is you're purposefully opening yourself to the Lord to communicate to you, whether it's in that moment or in life. You're in a sense, the stillness is a kind of prayer of, Lord, orient me, keep me on track, even if I'm not seeing it, even if I don't know exactly what it is. So it's a willingness, it's a way that you're indicating and that willingness. And I think I have a lot of faith that the Lord takes our willingness and loves that. That's a blessing to God to have that willingness, and then God leads us as God does. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
That. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you. That's really important, especially in our current culture, which, as you know, it's so highly when I say the dominant culture in North America tends to be very it values efficiency, and and especially for those of us who have very full lives and a lot of responsibilities. And so making that time for some stillness as a way to kind of create some space as a prayer itself, to open ourselves to the Lord's leading. So important. So thank you so much. Is there anything else at all you'd like to share with our students?
Yes, I would just like to encourage every single student to stay true to what you know the Lord has called you to do, even when you don't understand it. Stay the course, trust his timing. If you're sure he's called you, he's called you to this, he will walk with you every step of the way, even when you might not see clearly, he's there. And as you take every step, he'll be there to guide and to make sure that your foot will not slip. He will keep you, even when you feel like you're falling. He will sustain you, he will uphold you, and he sees and he knows all the things you're juggling, all the things you have to care for, and he will help you. You're doing his work, right? Because what you're doing now is inviting the Lord in your life to lead you to where your seminary degree will take you, and he's going to reward you for that. I 100% believe it. So stay true to the course, even when it gets hard.
Amen. And thank you. That's such a good word, to stay the course. God is faithful to us, and he invites us to be faithful also in response. It's a way we imitate Christ, actually, is practicing faithfulness. So yeah, beautiful. Well, Marlene, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for those words of encouragement. I'm confident that they'll be a blessing to the seminary community, and we really appreciate you, and are so glad that you're part of the Roberts Wesleyan University community.
Thank you so very much. I love being a part of this community. I just love it. Thank you so very much.
I'm so glad. Thank you. Blessings on your day.
Blessings to you.